Corn. All right, everyone. It is Thursday, September 24th, for those that are tuning in live. Today we have an awesome special seminar on personal safety. September is Realtor Safety Month, and so from the Thrive call last week, there was some discussion around personal safety and opportunities that we could have take some additional diligence in protecting ourselves and our clients and best practices in that. And thankfully, the amazing Rebecca Cooper has agreed to help spearhead this with me and go over some awesome techniques and tactics and mindset and tools and all those things. So we're going to kick it off. Rebecca, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know you've got some share screen and you can take it from here.
I do. And again, for those that didn't catch this, my power went out about 20 minutes ago. So I'm running off a laptop screen, a hotspot, and a wing and a prayer. So I apologize if this doesn't go as smoothly as I'd hoped. No reflection on Ted. Let me do that.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. All right. So trying to share that. All right. I need to go to presentation mode, don't I? All right. And Ted, can I go to presentation mode while I'm sharing?
Apparently you can, but I don't overthink it. Every time I've tried to do that, it's because I don't use slides as much anymore. So, but I'm pretty sure you can.
All right.
Whatever you do, whatever you're doing on your screen, it'll simply reflect that. So the sharing has no influence on that.
Right. Okay.
Andrea, welcome to the call.
Hi. Oops, hi, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
All right, thanks. Put my headset on.
All right. We're not going into presentation mode because it doesn't want to. So we're just going to roll with that.
Yep.
Okay. Is it in presentation mode for you now?
It's not shared right now, so you'll got to share screen again.
All right. How do people exist with only one monitor? I don't understand.
There you go. We see what you see on your screen.
All right. Well, I see the Zoom thing, so I can't get rid of the stuff on the side. So we're just going to go with it. We'll have to go with it. All right. So as Ted mentioned, this notion sort of came out of our Thrive call last week, in which, if for anyone who hasn't attended a Thrive call, I think most of you have, we have a Tales from the Trenches, and it morphed into a discussion on personal safety last week, just organically, and made us think that there's a lot here that we could do at Village to highlight personal safety. Because why? Because you're worth it, and it is Realtor Safety Month, so it's a great time to start talking about it if you haven't been talking about it already. And our goal today is not to teach safety, it's to expose you to all the resources that are available for us as realtors to increase our personal safety, and why we need to be doing that and how to do it. And then towards the end, we'd like to have a discussion for sharing thoughts on safety, ideas, things you'd like to learn more about, and we could turn this into a safety series to help everyone. All right, so again, this is put together by Ted and myself, and as you know, Ted's the Village Education Director, and I just am a junkie, an education junkie. I do have a background in safety education. I was a motorcycle safety instructor for the Tennessee Department of Safety and the Motorcycle Safety Foundation for 14 years, and also an instructor for Red Cross and CPR first aid and AED. So some of the ideas on safety strategy are informed by that, but most of the resources that we've used are from the NAR and available to you all at no additional charge from your dues. All right. So our course objectives today, we want to acknowledge, accept, and commit to managing risk to personal safety. There are all sorts of aspects of safety and real estate, but we're going to focus almost exclusively on personal safety. So we're not going to deal with data security or some of those other safety areas. We just want to focus on the individual today. We'll work on understanding the importance of mindsets and having a safety strategy in place before you need it. We're going to survey and review some risk reduction skills, some strategies, best practices. We're going to focus on some safety tech tips and tools, look at resources that are available to all of us as realtors. And then that forum that I mentioned, we'll listen to each other and share safety concerns in a safe area. And some of those ideas that come up in there will be considered for future safety discussions. And our hope is that you could take away at least 3 things, even little things that you can commit to do starting right now to improve your personal safety. All right. So before I go to that slide, I'd like to ask the question, and anybody please chime in, why real estate is risky. Like, what are some of the risk factors that we experience as real estate professionals? And just throw one out.
You're alone with people you don't know consistently.
Exactly. So we're meeting a lot of people that we don't know that are outside of our sphere of influence. Very good. Other risk factors.
I mean, you just never know what's on the other side of the door when you open it. You really don't.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, you don't know.
We're entering properties that we haven't been in before, places. Sometimes we're driving to places we've never been before, areas we haven't been. Awesome. Teddy pins, I know you've got one. Risk factor. Oh yeah, I'll call people out. Come on.
I was just going to say, when we do open houses, we're publicizing where we are at a certain address at a certain time to the entire world. So that's a risk as well.
Excellent, Vanessa. I mean, yeah. In your own house, would you, put out a social media blast that says, hey, on Sunday from 2 to 4, I'm going to be here with the door wide open and you don't have to tell me who you are, just come on by. So, yeah. Excellent.
And you're in places you're unfamiliar. Right.
Whether it's, a particular property or an area, a neighborhood you're not familiar with. Absolutely. Anybody else want to share one? All right. So we've covered some of these. The first one on the list is that, as real estate professionals, we often are projecting an image of success. Anybody seen a billboard that says, I've sold over 1,200 homes in Nashville, or Robbie Drimmer has a new one in East Nashville, and it lists all the properties he sold in East Nashville. $1 million seller, $10 million club, blah, 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 all those things. And, the marketing for real estate is it's part of some people's brand is to project that image of success. I mean, we're not out there saying, I'm a stinky real estate agent and you probably don't want to use me, right? So, so projecting that image of success, like we're rich, woo, because we're selling lots of homes. Meeting unknown prospects at properties, that was mentioned, right? These are strangers to us sometimes. Although we're going to talk about how we're hoping that going forward, you will never meet a stranger at a property for the first time. So working at unfamiliar properties and sometimes at odd hours, and sitting in open houses alone. We're entering vacant properties. We're not sure, as Emily said, what's on the other side of the door. And then we provide all sorts of ways to contact us. You can call me, you can email me, you know where my office is, all these things. So we're providing a lot of, you know, personal access information, like ways to access us. So whereas, you know, and that's just part of the marketing and branding. And then one of the biggest ones is if we believe we're not at risk, or we're at least just not thinking about the risk and how we can manage it before we get into these risky situations. Any others? Any other ideas about why real estate is risky, a risky career? And again, we're not going into the cyber stuff. We won't even touch on the emotional and psychological risk of being in real estate. We're just going to deal with physical safety today. All right, so when, why, and how is real estate risky? So this is based on NAR information. A safety research study found the following you know, common themes among reported crimes for real estate professionals. Crimes occurred most frequently on Tuesday and Thursday, least frequently on Sunday and during daylight hours. Does that surprise anyone that it's most frequently on Tuesday and Thursday and not Sunday? And why does that seem surprising?
I think that's like totally surprising. I was expecting Sunday for sure because of the open house situation.
That's what I thought, is what that was in my mind as well. I was like, wow. Now, this may not be obvious, but I'm not a criminal, so I'm not sure why Tuesday and Thursday. And it didn't really, the study didn't provide information on what it was. My guess is, what if it's people wanting to see property after work, so later, after hours, that kind of thing. But that's just speculation. All we need to know is that it occurs most frequently on Tuesday and Thursday, and not during daylight hours. All right. So just shutter your doors on Tuesday and Thursday and don't go out after dark. I'm kidding. About 1 in 3 crime victims were men. All right. So I think on the Thrive call, you know, we were talking some about the risks that women experience, not just in real estate, but just in general, compared to men's. And it wasn't more or less, it was just different. But it's important for men to understand that there's risk for them as well. So for any fellas on here today, I can't see everybody. I know Ted and Tyler, thanks for making it a priority for yourself as well. Crimes that started out as robberies often progress to murder or sexual assault. So we definitely want to head things off at the pass, so it doesn't start out to begin with, so it can't go down that, you know, that path to something really horrific. Guns were the most frequently used weapon, followed by physical force. And then the majority of attacks occurred in the suburbs and rural areas, not in major metro areas. All right, any questions or comments on those study findings? All right. Ooh. Next. All right, so now let's talk about the risk-safety relationship. All right, risk is inherent in everything we do. There's no way to completely reduce all the risk that is in life. I remember one time I was walking up to a golf driving range, and there was this big disclaimer about the risk of, you know, of hitting golf balls off a mat. And I thought it was kind of funny, but then I saw myself hitting the golf balls off the mat, and I was like, yeah, this is risky for the person next to me. But there really is risk in everything we do, and you can't remove it entirely. But we can try to manage that risk, and that's the critical piece to increasing our safety. All right. And in order to manage risk, we first have to acknowledge it. We have to say, yes, it's out there. And we do need to identify specifically some of those risks and acknowledge them and accept that it's a risk that we have to manage. All right. So there is an equation here. It's not just saying there's risk. It's saying, I know what the risks are, some of them. I accept them, and now I'm going to manage them. So once acknowledged and accepted, then we manage risk by applying a safety strategy. And that's some of the stuff we're going to be talking about today. Tips, practices, skills, behaviors that constitute an overall safety strategy. And mindset is the most important part of an effective safety strategy. Saying, Yes, there's risk, and I choose to do something about it and manage it. So mindset, your number one safety tool. It's the most important part of an effective safety strategy. And those who have a plan are rarely surprised or caught off guard. So in Red Cross, when you're teaching people to provide first aid or CPR or use a defibrillator, the protocol that we teach and that we ingrain is not just how to apply a tourniquet or how to use an AED. It's the protocol of check, call, care. And check part is, it's the linchpin. You have to do that first. You check your environment. If someone's in trouble, something may still be there that could get you in trouble or cause you harm. So the first part is you got to check first. Then you call 911 and then you provide care. Okay. So in motorcycle safety education, the protocol for teaching safe riding is search, evaluate, execute. So before you're taking off on your motorcycle, you're searching your environment. You're looking for dangers, for risks. You're evaluating them before you get there so that then you can execute a riding strategy that will be safe. All right. So in motorcycle safety, we don't call motor vehicle crashes accidents. We call them crashes. It's not victim blaming. It's saying there's generally almost always something that the rider could have done before the crash occurred in order to avoid it. Now, if a piece of space lab fell out of the sky and right on top of you and squished you, that is truly an accident. But the point is, there are things that we can do before trouble is there to avoid it, and that's what we want to be focusing on today. Any questions? Any questions or comments? All right, let's get into some skills and best practices. And again, our goal today is not to instruct you in safety practices. I'm not a licensed safety instructor for NAR, although we do have some really good ones, and one locally in Murfreesboro, and I'll talk about him in a minute if we have time. But it's just to expose you to some of the resources and where you can find them. So Ted sent out in the announcement about this special event the NAR list of 56 safety tips for realtors. And those tips cover all sorts of topics and are in no particular order, let me say. It covers safety tips for open houses, property showings, listing presentations, having a safety strategy, what to do when you're in danger, cyber safety, and buyer and seller safety. So again, we're not going to focus on cyber safety and buyer and seller safety today, but safety is a responsibility for all the parties that we deal with. That includes coworkers and our buyers and our sellers. So there's a whole lot more to safety than just looking out for yourself. So a couple of the areas I thought we'd focus on is first of all, a couple of the tips that address safety strategy. All right. So tip 22 on the list: take 2 seconds when you arrive at your destination to check out potential dangers. Is there any questionable activity in the area? Are you parked in a well-lit, visible location? Can you be blocked in the driveway by another vehicle? All right, so as you're pulling up to a property or to your office, right? Because crime happens at our offices as well. You can't let your guard down there. Just take 2 seconds. You're scanning. In the motorcycle safety protocol, we're searching. Search, evaluate, execute. In the Red Cross protocol, we're checking. You're going to check the environment for dangers that could be there. Tip number 30 on the list: take 2 seconds as you walk towards your destination to check out potential risks. Are people coming and going, or is the area usually quiet? Are you showing in a rural area and there's no neighbors around? Or are you showing in an industrial area where you don't have a lot of residential? Do you observe any obstacles or hiding places in the parking lot or along the street? And is anyone loitering in the area? All right. And tip number 39 on the list: take 2 seconds to pause and look around as you enter the destination. Does anything seem out of place? Is anyone present who shouldn't be there or isn't expected? And that last one is, all these can apply to when you're approaching your open house, or when you're going to show a property, or when you're going to the office to meet a potential client. As you're going to the office to meet a potential client, what if that potential client has a partner that they're looking to, do something other than look at property, right? So these can apply to every aspect of your real estate business. What do you guys think about this? Do you do these things? Do you think about these things? Do you think about these things every time you pull up to a property showing? What are some other things that you look for?
I'm doing these things even when I go to the grocery store. Just making sure you practice this on a daily basis and keep it ingrained. We teach our kids, to be aware at all times, not to, think anything is out of the ordinary. You always just pay attention and are aware. So
yeah, excellent. It's being aware. And I hope that it's not coming across. This is not fear mongering at all. I mean, the risks are out there. So let's just, accept them and say, okay, what are we going to do to reduce them? And you're absolutely right, Vanessa. It's about practicing it on a daily basis, so that it's ingrained. You don't have to think, oh, did I check underneath my car as I'm approaching it in a, oh, am I checking out that van with no windows that has been sitting there for an hour, that sort of thing. But even the simple things about noticing the people around you. I walk to the grocery store most days and I pay attention to the people who are, walking on the street and hanging around and those sorts of things. And again, I'm not giving them the stink eye thing of what are you doing here? But it's just being aware. How are they behaving? What are their body behaviors? Because the most important thing that you can do for safety is trust your gut. All right, that we're going to talk about some webinars that you can look for later, and I'm going to give you a good list. But there's one really exceptional webinar on the NAR website, and it's a woman who is a safety professional who is, designed safety protocols and protection for professional athletes. She's a gold medalist in jiu-jitsu and Olympic gold medalist in jiu-jitsu, and she herself found herself a victim of violent crime because she didn't trust her gut or didn't trust and act on that. So practice every day, building that safety strategy.
Rebecca, couple questions if you have just a second.
Sure.
One on the driveway thing.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a day where I was driving the people in a car with me all day. So one question is, what do you do then? I know when we're in separate cars, I'll park on the street, they'll go in. But when you're together, what would you do? And then the other thing is just sort of in that being aware of your environment. I went to several construction zones that day. Subdivisions that are being built. So is there anything different you would do there?
Great. All right, fantastic, Emily. Yes. If you wouldn't, I wrote both of those down. When we get to the forum, then discussion part, we'll talk about it there if that works. Sorry, I feel like I'm trying to make eye contact with you, but you're in the lower corner of my laptop screen. So sorry if it looks like I have no idea where to put my eyes
Rebecca.
Yes.
I was also going to say, I don't know if this is a tip in here, but the new Bluetooth boxes, the central lock boxes, I've found that if you are close enough, like in your car, to do that so that it starts to open as you're walking up, you're taking less time bent over, looking like you're not knowing what, you're not being aware of your surroundings. So I do that as well.
That is excellent tip. I had not thought about that, Vanessa. We do talk about the Sentry app and how that can increase your can be a safety tool, but I had not thought about initiating that process before you get there, because it does then indicate there's a signal that's that goes to Sentry that says this has been opened or accessed by this person at this time. So excellent.
And they also have like a agent safety alert for the Sentry, which a couple times, and it's after, I think, like 2 minutes after you open the box that they send an alert and they ask if you're okay, and you can either dismantle it or delay it or whatever. But that's another thing that the Sentry lock, the new ones seem to do. Yes,
excellent, Dina. That is also, you have stolen one of the tech tips from later on. No, but I'm so glad that people, no. I'm so glad that people are aware of that, because that's a really great safety tool. All right, so we're going to move on a little bit, and then we'll come back to the tech and safety tech tips and tools. All right, so again, from the NAR list of top 56 things you can do to increase your safety are some open house safety tips. Tip number 5, don't assume that everyone has left the premises at the end of an open house. Check all of the rooms and the backyard prior to locking the doors, and be prepared to defend yourself if necessary. A long time ago in another life, I worked in a bar, and it was one person worked there, kind of place, and I would close the bar at night, and at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so he'd lock the front door, everybody out, lock the front door. And my usual protocol was to move to the back and go forward. But one night I didn't. About 10 minutes after I'd been in there locked by myself, I get a phone call from someone who's in the bathroom. So who actually just wanted to hang out and ask me out, but was too shy to do so. But anyway, but you need to make sure that you check the house and be on your guard and aware, and try to make, we need to be keeping track of people who come in the house and as they exit, but as part of your safety strategy. But be sure that you do check the house after the open house is over. Plan ahead with escape routes. When you're entering an open house for the first time, check each room and determine at least 2 escape routes for yourself. Make sure all deadbolt locks are unlocked for easy access to the outside, and plan your exit strategy should you need to have one. All right, and then rely on good neighbors. Inform one of the neighbors that you'll be hosting an open house. This is a good idea to invite them over anyway, and ask if he or she would keep an eye and ear open for anything out of the ordinary. Now, there is, let's see, a couple of property showing safety tips. Number 2, checking in. When you have a new client, ask him or her to stop by your office and complete a personal identification form first. And you can find that form on NAR or realtor.org, and I'll show you that area later. Photocopy their driver's license, retain this information. We call this CITO, come into the office. All right, we don't need to be meeting people for the first time at a property. It needs to be in the office with other people around, if at all possible. All right, and we can talk more during the discussion about asking for an ID form of identification, like a driver's license. When you go to purchase a car or test drive a car, they require that you provide a driver's license, right? Why wouldn't we require it if you're going to look at a house? And we can talk about ways to do that. But if people don't want to provide that, that's a red flag. You can work around it and come up with other ways to get the information you need. But just be aware that that's something that should be part of your safety protocol. 11, bring up the rear. When showing a home, always have your prospect walk in front of you. So don't lead them, but rather direct them from a position slightly behind them. You can gesture and say, master suite over there, dark dingy basement that there's no way I'm going down to is in there. You can go over there, but stay behind them a little bit. And don't get parked in. When showing a property or meeting someone, park your car in front of the property rather than in the driveway, so you can't get blocked in, and you'll have an easier time to get out if you need to. All right. Now, the NAR website, the safety website, has tons and tons of resources, including loads of checklists. There's actually a checklist for safety strategy. There's a checklist for open house safety tips. And for this one, there's a checklist for the agents showing safety checklist. All right, so I just printed it in here. We're not going to go through all of the points here, but the point is there are resources, checklists available to you for all these events. All right. So this particular checklist has a checklist for before a property showing, and then for once you're at the property. Okay. And we can post all these things in the education area to make them easy to access. All right, I'm going to turn it over here to Ted for tech tips and tools. But before I do, are there any questions for me or about the information we've talked about, the NAR Top 56 tips? I'll show you in a bit, and we'll make sure you have easy access to where all the checklists are and this information.
To add to my list of questions, Rebecca, what if the folks you're showing are not your client? Like I'm showing on behalf of another agent. That would be just something to add.
Yeah, got it. All right, thank on behalf of another. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
I'll get back to that. All right, thank you. All right, Ted.
All right, and I think that some of the things I might share may answer some of this. So I'm going to go ahead and share a screen here.
Oh, let me stop
No,
sharing.
you don't have to undo anything. I just take it. You're good.
And my power came on. Woo!
Fantastic. Okay, so I know you can see my screens there, and the first one that I'm going to share with you is let me make sure I'm following here, is Forewarn. And so Forewarn is a great app to keep on your phone. You can also use a desktop version. And I'm going to share a link to all of these, and I'll go ahead actually while we're in all this, and I'll go ahead and post a link if you want to follow along at home. And there's my chat. Come on, chat. All right, so there is a link to all the safety resources for NAR members, or the ones that they list here. And so we're just going to highlight a few today so you can be familiar with that. And so Forewarn, if you haven't used that, it's fantastic. It's almost a bit scary. I'd suggest looking yourself up first, just to make sure that you can see what the world can see. But in an instance to not show you my criminal record, I went ahead and showed and pulled up my glorious mother here, and you can see her. It has her phone records, her address history. She's got no criminal infractions that the world knows about. And then property records and vehicle records. And it's nice. It shows you their age, their home address, and their phone number. All of this is accessible by simply putting someone's phone in. Also, too, let me pull up. I also am dealing with a single screen this morning. And so that is first world problems that make things a little different. So anyhow, so Forewarn, highly recommend. You're going to have a list of all these apps. I also have a link in the Village Education Drive, the Agent Toolkit. So you'll have access to all the slides and links to all this. Next is HomeSnap Pro. In HomeSnap Pro, you can set a safety timer or send a distress alert. And so this is a free tool to you, and you can set that timer. And I'm gonna just touch on a lot of these here. So if you want to dig deeper into these, I simply want to give you exposure, excuse me, to these tools, and then you can kind of take it from there. And would be interested if you all have others after we go through these. Katana. Minimize this here a little bit. Sorry. Trying to see everything on here. So Katana is another way in which you can, another app here that is accessible to you. And some of these are paid services. As you can see here, you're going to have a whole list, or I have the whole list of these for you. All of these here, it attaches to your smartphone. It bypasses your lock screen by triggering a loud audible alarm by hitting a panic button. There is another tool that is built into our phones, and that I highly recommend you engage, and it's if you hit your side button there, I think 5 times rapidly, it will send an SOS. It'll do a 3 count, a 3 number countdown, and then it's going to send out a distress to select parties that you have predefined. I also shared one that was that I used in a tech tip a few weeks ago, which was SOS Help, and that will, in SOS Help app, you can tell it what where you want it to post. So it could send texts, emails, phone calls, and post to Facebook and Twitter and any of your socials of what your location is and that you need help in whatever message that may be. All right, Lockley Vision. They have Lockley Vision. They have a tool here that show you here that it's like a camera smart lock, and so this would be a way if you wanted to. It has a built-in HD doorbell combined with the lock, so it's more of a full integration rather than a Ring doorbell. So there's that tool as well. Prop lock is pretty cool and interesting. This tool, let me pull it. So you can mitigate the risk posed by closed doors. So it keeps the doors propped open, prevents anyone from maliciously creating a confined space. So prop lock I thought was pretty unique and interesting. Wasn't familiar with that one. V-Alert, another personal alert button. There's several of these tools, and so you might want to look and see the differences in those in which you think is best. Again, our goal here today was to kind of be a source of a source, as we are in real estate, and not assuming liability for what you develop as your personal protection plan. But I highly, highly encourage you to have one or multiple of these type of personal alert systems, because I think it's the best way in which you're not going to have likely time in which to send a text or make that phone call. So when you push that, the V-Alert button pings your smartphone and sends personalized text to 3 contacts. There's a fee for that, but again, you can see there's some free tools out there, that SOS. Let's see here. How are we doing, Rebecca? This one I liked. Not sure how to really pronounce it. Cleared, I guess it is. But this is a nice way for, rather than in an open house, I mean, I think, using these manual sheets is a little bit antiquated, and it's unbelievable that we allow people to just come into these homes and walk through people's homes, sometimes unattended if you had too many people. So what this is pretty cool is they have a verification and safety system whereby the buyer will be required to scan the front and back of their driver's license. They receive an SMS code and they verify it to link their device to them. An email is verified. Facial recognition text used to confirm the photo on the buyer is an actual person, and the app knows if the buyer is still in or near the house for better tracking. This is legit. And, I just think it raises the bar of our protection of ourselves and also our sellers, right? Like, knock on wood, marble, granite, whatever this is, there you go, that in my 20 years of selling real estate, or darn near that, the only safety thing that I have personally heard of in my situation is that there was an agent that was found that was taking prescription meds from different homes he was showing. And it was somewhat scandalous and sad and scary and all that. And so, these type of tools and things, along with educating our sellers about what you can do to make your home safe for showings, prescription meds and valuables will be something that I would certainly consider. They also have hardware in here at this Cleared, but I really like this verification tool. That's a piece that I think, I guess I would say I was kind of most excited about. Let's see here. Kinetic Global, they used to be Lifeline. So this is an interesting thing. So you press and hold your thumb to the screen, and as soon as it comes off, it's going to send your notifications to your parties, right? So your distress signal, if you will. So if you're unable to enter the disarm code, they're on their way. So literally, it's just with your thumbprint on there. So in areas where you felt maybe even a higher level of concern, this one may be another step to that. People Smart, So People Smart is kind of about integrating those tools and pieces as well. So it's bringing in kind of the verification protocol together. So you're basically like verifying clients. So another tool for that. And again, you're going to have links to all this. Protect. So this is free to you as an NAR member, and kind of get you out of distress. This also is it monitors your location during open house and private showings and sends out an SOA to your protectors when you if you haven't checked in at the pre-scheduled time. So if you're not where you're supposed to be or need to be, this is a great way. So Protect, that's a smart personal safety, that's free to NAR members. So highly encourage that. Safe showings. So safe and secure showings. This is another tool for you to keep things safe. You can give your seller security a client of confirming them, creating an emergency contact list, capture a secure image of a client's face. I just think it will be a lot better received if collectively we start implementing customary safety procedures of verifying people of who they are, or at a minimum having record beyond just what name they elect to write down in information. My Mobile Witness, this is a way, if the kind of trusting your gut. If you see something, send something. So this connects to different authorities, first responders and citizens and law enforcement. So when you see things that you can report things, My Mobile Witness. And again, I have a document, I'm gonna post a link to it. All these links are in here in our Personal Safety Spotlight agent version. This is in the education drive, and it has our course objectives, and it has links to everything that I'm sharing here. So you'll have, and I posted the link to all these, that'll get you straight to those in the chat as well. Let's see, I know I need to wrap up here. So trust stamp is, goodness, I don't want to cut the, I'm going to move forward and let you all review. There's a couple here left that are also great tools. There's, as Vanessa mentioned with Central Lock, there's some safety features integrated with that, with Bluetooth, of knowing where you are. So make sure, using that feature, you can enable the agent safety feature on that. So make sure you do that. All right. Got a little long-winded there. Sorry, I'm turning it back over to you, Rebecca. You're muted.
I'm so muted.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good to go.
All right. Just a couple, I'm going to share a few more resources, and then we want to leave time for sharing and discussion, and to address some of the questions that have come up. So I'm going to share my screen one more time and talk about some other safety resources. And this slide deck will be available to you, but I'm just going to show you all of these tech tools that and apps that Ted has mentioned are in the slide deck. So you'll have them available to you as a reminder, and then you can go check them out. All right. Safety resources. So NAR resources that we have. They have NAR has a extremely robust program dedicated to all things about our realtor safety. The website is nar.realtor.safety, and it is cavernous. I'm talking catacombs of Paris, people. There's tons of information. There is a whole section on planning your safety strategy. There's an area with 25 different webinars. There's some exceptional ones. The one that I mentioned with the safety professional, gold medal jiu-jitsu lady, her name's Danielle Martin. She has a webinar called True Boundaries, and it was mind-changing, strategy-changing for me. There's a whole bunch of safety videos and safety products, information about programs, smartphones, and of course, if you even think you want to have a checklist, check there first. All right, no reason to reinvent the wheel. And then, of course, the 3-hour CE course, Real Estate Safety Matters. Ted sent out an education update a couple of weeks ago. Well, it was at the end of August that Greater Nashville Realtors was offering the 3-hour Real Estate Safety Matters course for free as part of Realtor Safety Month. I attended the class again. I've done it 3 times now. Again, yesterday with as Zoom with Williamson County Association of Realtors. And in October the 19th, the Clarksville Association of Realtors is offering the webinar. I believe it's $25 to attend via Zoom. You can also find it at the NAR Center for Realtor Development, which is where you can go and buy online classes. And I think it's 22 bucks there. All right. So Real Estate Safety Matters, that 3-hour course, the tagline for this course is Safe Business Equals Smart Business. And the course covers 5 areas: the risk of real estate, safety systems, that's part of your developing your strategy, your first line of defense, that is the trust your gut and arm yourself, meaning with information, not necessarily with peck and heat. But the Wild Web, that's all on cybersecurity, data protection, that sort of stuff. And then there's a section on company safety system, and I'm so glad that Tyler joined us today. Thank you so much, Tyler. Although I'm missing somebody that I was looking for there, but thank you for being here, because Ted and I want to take this information from our discussion and talk with Village writ large and see how we can beef up our company policy on agent safety. So as Ted mentioned, as we all improve our safety awareness and strategy individually, we can also do it as a company and all become safer as part of that process. And again, it's available online and or through local associations. And lastly, quick plug for C2EX. There's a ton of information. The way I found a lot of this safety information, I was exposed to it through C2EX. I won't go into it, but if you haven't heard about the Commitment to Excellence program that's available through the NAR, call me. All right, Ted, back to you.
Well, I'd like to, Rebecca, let's revisit, let's answer those questions if we could first. I want to make sure we address those.
All righty. So I have what to do when you're in a car, like when you're driving together. All right. Ted, do you want to take that one, or do you want me to?
Anybody have any thoughts or feelings about experiences you've had or things that you feel are good preventative or precautionary methods when driving in a car with a client?
Well, I'll throw out there that, before, if you're going to get into a car with someone, that this is where your safety strategy and protocol has led up to this point. That's not when you start having a strategy. That you've already met them someplace else. You've done your whatever investigation you're going to do, your certification, whatever you're going to call it. You will have met them. You have their identification. And you will be driving, of course. You will always, if you're ever in a car with someone else, don't get into their car. You're going to be in charge of that. So everything leading up to that point hopefully has prepared the situation so that you're not going to incur any risk. What to do if you're in the car and you find yourself in danger, that's beyond what I can advise on, but I know where you can find information about it. So.
That's right. Anyone else have experience or things they want to share on that? I think it's a great point, Rebecca. Yes, Vanessa.
I generally just make it a rule of my own that I don't drive anybody around.
Great.
It's just a safety precaution for myself. And then honestly, it gives your clients, it's like a husband and wife, or, a mom and a daughter, and it gives them time to chat after each showing. So I just kind of use it as, hey, it's beneficial for you guys to chat after every showing. So it's just a rule of mine.
Agreed. And I also think you can also state, just out of protection and liability, it's a policy that I always sometimes use the words we rather than I. Nobody knows who the hell we is. And so it helps disperse that's like something of fault or of personal preference. So
I just blame it on my broker. Call Tyler.
You can do that.
But one really important thing to that, though, is if it is your policy not to do it, be sure you don't put anyone in your car, because you could be subject to some sort of a violation of treating people
Discriminatory.
equally. So
Mhm.
even if
Equal
it's, if it's your mom, okay, maybe, but everybody else, you got to treat everybody exactly the same.
Yep. And it's become much more customary to not drive them. All right, next question.
Emily, you said Emily said you were showing in a construction zone. Is that correct? Like an industrial area?
Like a subdivision that's being built. We're looking at the last one and it's not even finished yet. So that was the scenario.
Yeah. Again, as Rebecca said, I think a lot of these things are about having that plan in advance, right? So just because somebody signs a buyer's rep doesn't mean that their identity is verified, okay? Even though that seems to be a great goal for us. So make sure that you're doing verification. You are writing separately. There are people that know where you are and when you're supposed to be there, especially if there's any on-site representation and or contractors or superintendents. Make sure that you're in connection with them, that they know that you're there and where you're going to be and that they can accompany you. I think a big one that one of the greatest tools was what Hampton offered. And Hampton told us he's 6'9" and be happy to be a tour buddy with anybody, but is have a buddy. Do not host these open houses alone or feel that you can't engage. There he is. There's the man. You just can't see that dude's height from this Zoom or any of them. So it's so funny. He goes, yeah, I'm 6'9". I'm like, what? You're 6'9"? Okay. But it was such a great and generous offer. And I think, just having buddies in this, first, it makes this a hell of a lot more fun. And there's great collaboration that can happen. And I just think it's great practice. So I think having a buddy in a lot of situations, because I assure you, even if you know what you're doing and where you're comfortable, there's another agent in our office that would learn and benefit greatly from them being with you. And I guarantee you'll learn something from them too. So I think we need to embrace a more collaborative spirit in this industry as a whole, that we're not just lone rangers, and that we have to, we do need to have personal policies and protections, and you should carry, I believe you should have mace no matter what your gender, and you should have a policy and a plan, and don't wait until there's, till there is something that's gone wrong to initiate this. We've provided a lot of tools, and as Rebecca said, this is a great way in which to get more information on that. But just sit down, take yourself 15 to 30 minutes and write out, what are the things I'm going to do to have a personal safety plan? These are the apps I'm going to use. I have put the information in there. You don't need a lot of these. You took 3 things, and I would love to hear, what are 3 takeaways that you have or things that you would implement from either things you heard today or, 1 to 3 things that you're going to add to your plan. Would anybody be willing to share on that?
I'll jump in, Ted.
Please.
Actually, when early on in Rebecca's presentation, she was talking about the 1 in 3 crimes, I guess, happen against men, which was actually kind of a surprising statistic to me. I mean, like almost a little over 30%. I would have thought it would have been much, lower than that, because I was just assumed, and have taught in real estate, like, hey, like especially if you're a woman in this industry, you really need to be careful. But, I really don't take that much precaution when I'm pulling up to a property. I just don't think about it. I'm like, I just go in, or like even at the grocery store, call it male privilege, I don't know, but it just doesn't.
It is.
cross my mind.
And I agree.
And so that was a good statistic that you shared, because it's making me think, okay, well, I probably need to pay more attention in these scenarios, so I'm not a victim, because I'm taking things for granted.
Well, and Tyler, I think you will now anyway, because as soon as you and Willa get out in the world a little bit more, because you're going to be looking at the world differently with her. And I think that will fundamentally change the way you do it. You see it even when, you know, you don't have her. And thanks, Emily. I'm sorry, it is 10 o'clock. I want to let everybody know that, so you won't hurt our feelings if you jump off. But if anyone wants to share, and I'll follow up with Emily on her last question, which was when showing on behalf of another agent. But I think it's, by this point, I'm just beating that dead horse, which is hopefully you've implemented your strategy, a safety protocol, and discussed with that other agent what their strategy is and what they've done, you know, to verify that client, how they know them, get to understand that. And there's nothing wrong with saying you'd like to meet the client either at the closest village office or at a McDonald's or a Starbucks close to the property, just so you can talk a little bit, just meet there in the parking lot, and then, you know, get your sense, have some conversation, trust your gut, listen to it, and then drive separately over there. So that's how I would address that. Ted?
Agreed. And use forewarn. So
Yeah.
even don't assume that other agent, because they're working with them, that is, use forewarn. So ask their cell phone number, put it in forewarn, have that app on your phone. You know, I keep a folder on my phone that has, and I'll just rudimentarily show you and stress you out with all of my notifications. But of course, take it easy, folks. I know the red dots are kryptonite for some of you, but it's so in here I just keep a real estate folder, right? And so when I hit that, I've got all the enemies in real estate, and then of course forewarn is right there. And so I just click that and put in someone's phone number, and I've got all that detail at my fingertips. The same thing on two is on my second page at the top there is that send help. And so when you go to send help, I probably should move it to my first page. I will do that today. And you go to settings, it's really easy. You know, so it's just going to tell you how to use the app and setting up for these notifications of what it's going to go out to, the alerts on SMS. And I have had that one a long time. So I would encourage, please have one of those and have it set up and make sure that it's quick and accessible. There's one other tool that I'll share if it is called WearSafe, wearsafe.com, WearSafe, excuse me. And that is, if you feel like maybe a smartphone or that technology isn't for you or for a family member, this is a wearable and it's a one touch. And one touch, it's going to put that notifications in place, and it's going to record real time the audio so that the parties or emergency services can hear real time what's happening and where you are. It doesn't have like a expensive subscription rate or anything like that, but I think there's merit to those type of things, even though our smartphones are so intelligent, have all those tools. In distress, as I was talking to a guy last night who has a carry permit, and in his training, if somebody is within 10 feet of you and they have a knife, a gun will not do it. Someone with a knife can get to you faster than you can get a gun drawn and shot if they're less than 10 feet. So I don't carry a gun, but it's just to be mindful of that. Even, you know, non-firearms are serious weapons, and so again, not to be fearful. Rebecca, let's give some love to Rebecca. Thank you so much for all of your efforts and work and preparation, and to all of you that participated and shared. Please spread the word, not just to fellow agents, but to family members, right? We're all in places of vulnerability, and these are vulnerable times. And sometimes when the economy changes, things can become even more vulnerable. So along with the basics, don't leave your personal property in your car. Have your pet spayed and neutered, and make sure your clients have a rental policy, because anything in your car is not covered under your homeowner's, friends. They're not covered under your auto. It's on your homeowner's or your renter's policy. So that's all I have. Any other parting thoughts before we break?
Said one thing about tools. Whatever tool you use, whatever weapon you use, whatever personal protective tooltip that you use, be sure you know how to use it. If you're not going to use it or train yourself on it before you need it, don't. Especially like the Sentry app, if you're going to use that for notification, be sure you turn it off before your husband gets the emergency text that says I'm okay, for example. Just a little bit there. And I just want to thank everybody for making your personal safety important today, because you are worth it. And if we can help in any way, shape, or form, have a focused presentation just on using some of these apps or whatever. We can find people who are experts in the individual, because I certainly don't know all of them. If you want to talk about specifically have a just something on it or whatever, just let us know. We're here to help, and we're not the source, but we can be the source of the source and find what you need to keep yourself safe. So, thank you.
We are going to, thank you. And we are going to be working with Village on establishing some recommended safety guidelines. Such would be things that, so that you can say, hey, our brokerage requires that we take a photo of an ID when you come into an open house, or that we have code language. If you were to call the front desk and say, hey, could you send me the red file, that means you're in distress. So we're gonna look at developing some maybe brokerage recommended safety procedures that, so we'll be involving brokers and agents in that. So look forward to that here in the fall. All right, y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a safe day.
Thanks.
All right.
You too.
You bet. Bye-bye.